We have also been told by some folks, not asked, but told, we're coming to your house if it hits the fan. Oh, really? Welcome to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, where we talk about homesteading stuff and life stuff and everything in between. Join me, Amy Dingman, as we explore big questions on a little farm. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast. How are you today? I am Amy Dingman. I am your hostess with the mostest, or I don't know, is that what they say? Coming to you from central Minnesota, where Ma Nature forgot to give us winter until March. There you have it. Ma Nature, she does what she wants. She is always going to do what she wants, right? Today is March 25th, 2024. This is episode 272. What are we talking about today? Today's topic is the 5 craziest things that I hear people say about surviving when the ish hits the fan. These are the things people are just going to do. It's fine. I'll just do this when things get tough. I'll just do this when the end of the world comes. I'll just do this when the apocalypse comes. I'll just do this. We're going to talk about those things. And then we're going to talk about a little way we can maybe help people a little better. But before we get to that, what has been happening on the Lifestead? Well, like I already mentioned, Ma Nature finally realized that it was winter and has given us some snow. And actually, again, just like last week, I'm recording this a little bit earlier than you're going to hear it. So I can't give you any totals right now, live time. But they are talking about a significant snowstorm coming. So I think right now what they're saying is about 8 to 16 inches over the course of 3 days. So we will see what actually happens. It's funny because March is typically our snowiest month. So really, Ma Nature is just doing what she does. But we've had almost no snow this winter. I think the report that I saw is this entire winter. And technically, I guess it's not even winter anymore. It's technically spring. But this entire winter, we've only had about 12 inches of snow here in our area, which is crazy because this time last year, we had like 80 inches of snow by this time last year. So in this storm that's upcoming, that is probably here when you're listening to this, but in this storm that they've been talking about, they're talking about us getting more snow than we've had the entire season. And so there's 2 things that go along with that. The fact that we've had no snow this season is why everybody's grumbling about this so much because, you know, we were like out doing things in the yard, bare feet, and it was warm. It was up to like 65 degrees and we were getting that spring fever. So to now be dumped on with snow, having not had any snow, it's just extra grumbly, right? But the thing is, because we haven't had any snow, we really, really, really need that moisture. I think we're in year 3 of drought here in Minnesota, even though we had all that snow last year. So how crazy is that we're still in a drought? All of that to say, we really, really need the snow. So I'm sure if you check my social media, I will be posting pictures of what Ma Nature is throwing at us. So there you have it. Last week I mentioned that I started some onion seeds. I'm happy to report that some of those onion seed babies have popped up, so that is always fun to see. People who don't garden don't understand why we're all posting these pictures of, oh my gosh, this tiny little thing that's 1/16 of an inch tall has popped through the soil, and I'm going to take a picture of it because I'm so excited, right? That's just something we do as homesteaders and garden people. What else? I mentioned last week that I did put chicken eggs in the incubator. I think I put about 30 in there, 33 maybe. I don't remember, but they are all in there. And yes, I did get the incubator video up on YouTube. So go over and check that out. I am so glad that it is done, and I hope that people find it helpful in building their own incubator excitement. We went to the discount food store a few days ago. We got a really good deal on strawberries. If you are local to me, I'm going to tell you there's this food chain here, this grocery store chain here called Mike's Discount Foods. They're all over. The one that I go to is in Princeton, Minnesota. It's a little jaunt from my house, but that's okay. So Princeton, Minnesota, that's where I go. Mike's Discount Foods. If you're trying to save money on food, you should go there. So anyway, we went there. We got a really good deal on strawberries. I'm talking about 16 of those like clamshell containers. So what is that, like a quart and a half or a pound, or I think it was a pound. So 16 of those for $10 total. $10 total, you guys. And yes, we did go through, the containers, and there were some bad ones, but most of them were good. And so we froze some, we dehydrated some, and I made a fresh strawberry pie. So there you go. It was really cool. We went down in the basement. I'm like, I think we have a dehydrator. And we go down in the basement, and I have this old, like, Ronco dehydrator. I think on the bottom it's stamped like 1993. And so we decided, heck, we're going to cut up some strawberries and put it in there and see what happens. And so it's working really, really well. You just have to remember to switch those trays around. And it's just turn it on and let it go. So there's no settings. There's nothing like that. But you do have to remember to switch the order of the trays every once in a while, because obviously the bottom is hotter than the top. So got to do a little switcheroo, but it's working really well. So I'm glad we remembered we had that in the basement and decided to try it out. What else has been happening? Well, it has been a really crazy week of big changes here. Crazy week. If you follow me on social media, you may have seen a post that my 15-year-old niece died very suddenly from a very out of the blue medical situation. This was not suicide. This was not drugs. This was a really weird situation. So it was obviously a very big shock to everyone. It still really doesn't feel real. So that was a very big change that happened. And so we've all been kind of processing that and dealing with that and everything that comes along with that. There's also been lots of other stuff happening here. Sometimes you have those weeks where there's just a lot of stuff that happens and a lot of big changes. And you've got a lot of stuff that shifts. And so then you've got some perspective shifts. And so, yeah, we'll talk more about that in weeks to come, because it doesn't even feel like some of that stuff should be in the same kind of sentence as the fact that my niece passed unexpectedly. So yeah, lots of stuff going on the Lifestead. Thank you so much for those of you who have reached out, who saw it on social media. We really do have a super amazing community here. So I'm very thankful for that, and thankful that you are all who you are. So keep being awesome. All right. With that, I'm not sure how we segue, but let's head over to the main topic and talk about the 5 craziest things that people say are going to be the ways they're going to survive when the ish hits the fan. In a world filled with uncertainty, it's not uncommon to hear people talking about their survival strategies for when the unexpected happens. Whether we're talking about natural disasters or we're talking about societal collapses, which is much more fun to talk about, right? People will come up with what I think are some pretty outlandish ideas on how they are going to navigate and survive that chaos. So today's episode is going to have us diving into these 5 crazy and also very common things that I hear some folks say about their plans to survive when it hits the fan. All right. And you've probably heard some of these too, but we're going to dig into these a little bit. Number 1. Well, when it all hits the fan, I'm just going to hunt for my food. Not a big deal. I'm just going to go hunt for my food. We'll be fine. Have you heard people say this? Have you said this? Now, I grew up in a family that hunted, and I am in a family that hunts, right? My husband and I and the kids, they hunt. And here's the thing. There have been years we have gone hunting. Bear hunting, turkey hunting, deer hunting, grouse hunting, whatever hunting. And we have not been successful in bringing home a bear, a turkey, a deer, grouse, whatever we went out to get. And this isn't necessarily because you shoot and you miss, although that definitely happens. More often than not, it's because we sit out there and we don't see anything other than a red squirrel who's out there to annoy us. So people who think they're just going to hunt for their food are either one of 2 different things, okay? Number 1, maybe they live in an area where they have unlimited wildlife. And I know people like this because I know there are people who every year they go out, deer hunting, and they know they are going to come home with a deer. They've never not come home with a deer, right? Just because of where they're hunting and the overpopulation of the deer, right? Where we hunt, there are almost no deer left. So that ain't happening for us. But the other kind of folks that might be saying, I'm just going to hunt for my food, might not actually be hunters currently. They're just assuming they're going to walk out into the woods and 10 or 15 deer are just going to walk out there in front of them and say, I am here as a sacrifice to you. And you're going to shoot them and take them home. And you're going to have all this food, right? You all. That's not how it happens. Okay? So I'm just going to hunt for my food. Maybe should not be your survival plan. Or I should say, maybe isn't going to be as easy as you think it's going to be. Number 2, something else that I commonly hear people say, oh, well, if it hits the fan and there's food shortages or we can't, there's like no grocery store or whatever, I'm just going to plant a garden. I'll plant a garden when I actually need it. When I finally need it, I'll plant a garden. No big deal. Now, any of you who are out there who have gardened for longer than a minute know how crazy that statement is. There are a lot of things that don't grow well where I am. I am in Minnesota. I'm in zone, well, they just changed the zones. I think I'm in 4A now. I'm right on the border of one, like literally right on the border of one or the other. I think I'm in 4A. So there's a lot of things that don't grow well where I am. I have a very short growing season naturally, right? There are a lot of things that have grown well one year here and not grown at all the next, right? This is what gardening is. Gardening takes practice and you have to learn stuff, and every year is different. And buying a bucket of seeds that you're going to save to plant in the end times is the dumbest idea I have ever heard. If you have no experience gardening, you buying that packet of seeds, y'all, no. Because what's going to happen is you're going to, we're in the end times and I need to plant this garden. And you're going to pull out that seed packet in July and not have any idea what half the stuff on the packet even means. And you're going to realize this stuff should have already been growing and now you don't even have it in the ground. Or you're going to find out it doesn't even grow in your area. It doesn't grow in your soil, or it needs a lot of water or not a lot of water. You have no clue what the pests are that are on top of the plant you're trying to grow. You don't know if you can salvage the plant now that it's been taken over by pests. Yeah, just go ahead and plant that garden, right? It'll be fine. No big deal. Just throw those seeds in the ground. It'll be fine. Number 3. If it all hits the fan, it's fine. I'm just going to go crash at my prepper friend's house. Y'all, please don't use this as your backup plan. My husband and I have been asked many times about this, and sometimes it's people joking, and sometimes it's people being serious. We have also been told by some folks, not asked, but told, we're coming to your house if it hits the fan. Oh, really? And I think some people mean it as some kind of underhanded compliment, like, oh, you guys are so prepared and you just got it all on the homestead. We're coming to your house, right? But it's always kind of a weird conversation. I'm actually working on a video about this, and it's going to be a spoof, humorous way to deal with this conversation, but I'll let you know when that one's out. But I hope that you have a community of people around you. I hope you are surrounded by helpful people. And honestly, I think a lot of folks, homesteading folks that I know, have really big hearts and they want to help people, right? They want to help. But the assumption that you are just going to show up at your prepper friend's house and they're going to take you in and take care of you, what? Or the assumption that you won't be one of 140 other people who show up and want a place to stay, even if you're bringing skills, is kind of obnoxious. And here's the comparison that I like to make, okay? You thinking that you can show up and crash indefinitely at your prepper friend's house because, oh my God, it all hit the fan, should technically mean that you're totally fine with them showing up to crash at your house indefinitely right now when it hasn't hit the fan, right? Let me say that another way. That feeling that you get when someone's just going to show up at your house tomorrow when the ish hasn't hit the fan and it's not the end of the world is the same feeling your prepper friend probably has thinking about everyone and their brother and their cousin showing up at their house just because the ish hit the fan. Have a different plan in place, y'all. Or at least have a real conversation about what would happen with your prepper friends and, have that actual conversation and make those plans. Don't just assume. Number 4, my fill in the blank will know what to do. Or my fill in the blank will know how to handle it. Or my fill in the blank will know how to fix it. I hope they do. And I hope they can handle it. And I bet they hope they can handle it. But what if they don't? And what if they can't? Either physically or mentally. One of the biggest lessons that I have learned in the last few years is that everyone reacts differently to stress. Everyone reacts differently to hard times. Everyone reacts differently to any situation, really good or bad. But everyone reacts differently. And we can assume all we want about how we're going to react or how someone in our family is going to react, but we don't know until it actually happens. And writing off your responsibility to care for yourself because you think someone else will do it for you, dare I say, that is a really, really, really big issue in the world today. Writing off your responsibility to care for yourself because you think someone else is going to do it for you. That is different than being in a tough situation and needing help. That's different, okay? Don't write off your responsibility to care for yourself because you assume someone else will take care of it for you. Number 5, it's fine. If I need to know how to do something, when the ish hits the fan, I'll just look it up online. I'll just look it up on the internet. Google will help me. I'll just look it up online. I mean, yeah, you can if you've got the internet. Depending on what societal collapse we're talking about, there might not be internet. And you have to know which sources are the ones to trust. I mean, I don't know about you, but the last 6 months, there was like an update with Google a while ago, and I know some of y'all don't even use Google anymore, but I do. And you'll search for something on Google and you're like, what? Like, why is this the article that's coming up? This doesn't even answer my question. Or it literally gives me the opposite information of what I'm looking for because Google pulled some weird sentence out of it that if you actually read 2 sentences before, it changes the meaning of the sentence that Google pulled out as, the search result for you. It's crazy, right? I feel strongly that everybody should get some decent books, some decent print books. I love the internet and I love ebooks, but I definitely have some books in print because they are full of info and then I don't have to look it up online. So if for some reason I can't get online, not even a situation of societal collapse, maybe I just can't get online, right? It's also really good to just be able to sit on the couch and not have to look at a screen, not have to look at your phone, not have to be on your laptop. Just open the book and look up the thing that you need. And it's not distracting, right? Sometimes it's okay to just have a print book. It's okay. I should do a podcast episode about the print resources that I really enjoy. Because there's a lot of them out there. But if you wanted to have like a concise, put together library of really good information, maybe I should put that on my list here. So those are the 5 things that I very often hear people say are the ways that they're going to deal with a survival situation or the ish hits the fan or societal collapse. This is how we're just going to deal with it. It's fine, right? And I know some of this might seem like I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite because sometimes I will tell people, if you want to do it, just go do it. For instance, you want to plant a garden? Do it. You want to get chickens? Do it. I've talked in the past about how folks will get caught up in analysis paralysis and they will research and never do the thing. And sometimes they just need to go do the thing they want to do, right? And jump into it. What I'm talking about here in this episode is different. Deciding that your method of survival in a really sucktastic time is going to be something you could have started to figure out, but you didn't because you thought it wasn't going to be that hard. That's a recipe for disaster. And if it's not disaster, it's definitely more struggle than it would have been if you would have at least dabbled in the things you think you're going to do in whatever situation. So I guess the big question here is, how do we help people with this? How do we help people understand this? When we're listening to people say this, how do we help them understand that's not an awesome survival plan? That's not an awesome life plan. Well, let's be honest, some people just aren't going to listen, right? Some people are just going to do what they're going to do, and that's how it is. We all know people like that. But for everyone else, I think the answer is we show them how to live. We show them how we live. We show the good, the bad, and the ugly, okay? We show that we go hunting and we don't get anything. We show the struggles. We show the good parts too, but we also show the struggles of learning to do what we're doing, whatever it is. I think the way that we help people understand the way we're living is that we are honest about whatever journey we are on. Someone on social media the other day made this post of some beautiful flowers. I think it was daffodils. And those daffodils had popped up at her house. And next to these beautiful daffodils, there was this big blob of chicken poop on the sidewalk from her free-range chickens. And she'd taken this photo of these beautiful daffodils and then this blob of chicken poop. The caption in the picture was, "Don't let the pretty pics on social media fool you. Most people are just cropping out the chicken crap." And that statement is so true in both its literal and figurative forms. And it's not that our entire life has to be on display, because I don't agree with that either, but I do think that the parts you cherry pick to share with others should at least be balanced and honest. The other thing is that we have to answer people's questions. We have to be willing to answer people's questions. And I know that can be annoying sometimes or frustrating sometimes or make us roll our eyes, but every single one of us was in the same place as all those folks who currently don't have a clue, and there was someone who answered our questions. And we probably don't think we were as quote-unquote dumb as we think some of the questions are that people are asking us now, but we totally, totally were in one way or another if we're being honest. There are no dumb questions, y'all. And yes, I know that there are people out there who are asking for all the information who are never going to do the thing. And so sometimes you feel like you're wasting your time explaining, but you know what? You don't always know which people those are. So give the information freely. That's what we're here for. I know that this episode is a little funny, and maybe it feels like I'm taking a jab at some folks, with my list of 5 crazy things that I hear, but I hope you understand it's in love. And ultimately, it's for the purpose of helping folks get to a better spot. I've been thinking a lot over the last few weeks about what my purpose really is here in life and with a Farmish kind of life. And I have so much stuff swimming around in my brain, you guys. There have been a lot of changes in our life in the last week, really big changes. And that definitely solidifies some of those paths for me. However, I guess what I do know at this point is that I want to teach what I know and what I've learned, and I want to help people move forward. And I really want to build a community of folks who are interested in doing the same thing. And so I've got a lot of stuff in my brain right now trying to figure out what's the next step here. So stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed the show today. To continue the conversation, visit our website at afarmishkindoflife.com, find A Farmish Kind of Life on social media, or drop me an email at amy@afarmishkindoflife.com. Peace, love, and bacon, y'all. Stay Farmish.